Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the St. Louis Cardinals are back. This is Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs.
And I'm David Woldekin.
And it's time to talk about those 2023 St. Louis Cardinals and what we think is going to happen. But first, I need you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Right, so the Cardinals, Wilson Contreras, one major addition. Otherwise, to a certain extent, the same team running it back from 2022. And in the spring, David, reason for optimism.
Yeah, with the World Baseball Classic going on and the Cardinals having so many people playing in the World Baseball Classic, they got a long, good, hard look at a lot of younger players in the system, quite honestly. And to be honest with you, they all performed really, really well.
Yeah, they did. Speaking of performing well, Jordan Walker, he came into spring and the thought was, can this guy make the club? And he basically just left Ollie Marmol and the Cardinals with no choice. He was just raking all spring long, had some monster home runs, and it almost felt anticlimactic when he made the team, right? It was expected at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The only question now is how well can he produce in the season, and where's he going to end up finishing in the lineup, quite honestly, because this lineup is going to be stacked.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that lineup in just a little bit here. But continuing with the theme of spring, if not for Jordan Walker, the guy who would have kind of stolen the show, maybe Mason Wynn, out at shortstop, a number of dazzling defensive plays, showing off speed, and showing off an absolute howitzer throwing from that shortstop position over to first.
Yeah, and the only bad part about that is with how deep our infield is, he's not going to get much of a chance with the big club, quite honestly. And at this point, I can honestly say Paul DeJong might be the fourth best shortstop on our team.
Yeah, this was kind of billed as Paul DeJong's last chance, really, and it's been marred kind of by injury. Loses his back. Yeah, either way, he wasn't a factor, and I agree with you. Tommy Edman and Mason Wynn for sure. I would take Brendan Donovan, even though he only played in 7 games at shortstop last season. I'd still take him as short over DeJong. So, yeah, I think the Paul DeJong ship has sailed. I think that's the long and short of it there. The one other interesting story, Nolan Gorman, he's learning to not chase everything up in his eyes. And if he can do that consistently against major league pitching and not spring training pitching, understand my meaning there. If he can do that during the season, he becomes much more dangerous.
Yeah, it's a game of adjustments, especially with him. Now that he's been around for a full year, he knows what he needs to do to get better. And like you said, if he can keep that ball down in the zone and just lay off some of those pitches, he's going to be a very, very dangerous bat that we can throw into that lineup at times.
Oh, yeah. These guys kind of led the way. As you mentioned, it seemed like everybody and their brother was out at the World Baseball Classic. So it was rare for the Cardinals to even start a game and have a couple innings with their regular lineup. But all the same, the Cardinals finished, I believe, 17-7, best record in the Grapefruit League, which, all right, spring training, everybody's getting young guys looks and so forth. But it's better than being last place. So that's a good thing. What may not be a good thing is the starting pitching. With Adam Wainwright being injured, if you live under a rock, he strained a groin in the weight room during the World Baseball Classic. He's out for some number of weeks. We don't know. In his absence, you have Jake Woodford in the rotation, and that rotation will feature Miles Mikolas as your opening day starter, Jack Flaherty second, and then Jordan Montgomery. Jake Woodford, and Steven Matz will be fifth. And these 5 guys, plus Wainwright when he's back, they're going to define this season. And I don't know how good of a thing that is, to be honest with you.
And it's worth mentioning that Dakota Hudson and Matthew Liberatore were both sent to AAA. And with the way Woodford was last year and the way the team handled things, I could see that Memphis back and forth going on between those 3 pitchers for spot starts here and there until Wainwright's ready.
You know, there were times in the spring where Woodford just looked like he belonged. So, maybe that happens, but maybe he's just so solid that they just say, "Yep, you're a guy."
Well, and that could be a
I
good
saw
thing
one
for
person
us.
I even saw one person wonder what happens if Woodford isn't the worst starter in the rotation when Waino gets healthy. What happens then?
Yeah,
I think there may be competition for who gets taken out of the rotation. Honestly,
yeah, and a number of guys are going to be put on notice in that rotation, no less.
Oh yeah,
including.
I feel relatively comfortable with Miles Michaelis. I don't think he's going to go 21-5 or anything like that, but I think there's going to be times where his win-loss record looks kind of rough because he's in the ace spot. He's going to be matched up against the top pitcher on a lot of other teams. So he may have a rough win-loss record, but a pretty solid ERA. I could see that happening for him. After that, Jack Flaherty. Man, what do you say? Do you think there's any chance that Flaherty is the ace guy that everybody's been waiting for?
I don't know what to think. I want to hope, but the spring hasn't been encouraging. He's been getting rocked on the mound when he goes out. But then again, that also could be him working on things because it's spring training. So who knows?
Yeah.
And he might turn it on once the regular season starts. I don't think he's going to be your ace quality pitcher anymore, but I think he could be a good solid 2 or 3 still, and he still has that potential. But it all just matters on if he can stay healthy and if he can get into a rhythm.
And see, I think that's just it. I don't trust his right arm to stay healthy. I don't trust it. I don't see any way he comes close to 200 innings. I think even 150 innings is probably a stretch for him. That's just where I'm at in terms of his durability. When he is healthy, I don't know where the ball's going to go. He'll have an AB every now and again where he looks dominant, but then the next guy he'll walk on 4 pitches. So, yeah, I have minimal confidence in Jack Flaherty to even be a 500 pitcher. I don't know about his ERA being below 4. I really don't.
And that's where I think Dakota Hudson and Matthew Liberatore could come into play. If he's struggling, they might call them up for a spot start here and there just to give him a rest and figure things out.
Yeah, they may have to. Next in the rotation, you have Jordan Montgomery, who, his first handful of starts with the Cardinals looked like a superhero, and then he cooled off towards the end. If you can get 12-10 out of him, I call that a win.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if he pitches like he did when he came to us, we got ourselves a solid pitcher, and we need that. So,
well, the first 5-6 starts with the Cardinals was, that is, a Cy Young caliber. But I don't think that's fair to expect that. He's never done that in his career.
No.
I think what you're looking for is a guy who's going to be a couple games above 500, ERA, ideally a shade below 4. I think that's what you're looking for with Montgomery.
Well, and he came to a league who wasn't familiar with him, so he had a bit of an advantage, whereas the American League was used to facing him. The difference this year is every team faces each other now as the schedules have changed. So I think his level of play is going to even out. I think he's going to be a very solid 3 starter, maybe even work his way as a 2-starter, but I don't think he's going to be your full-blown ace.
No. And then Woodford, who we talked about, there were the reasons to be encouraged in the spring, but honestly, just hang on tight. If you can just get solid, yeah, it's a huge win. Considering he's filling in for Waino. And then you move on to Steven Matz, who, let's face it, he was hurt too much the last year to really have a fair assessment. And when he was healthy, one game he looked awesome, and then the other, he absolutely imploded. So again, you're hoping for mediocrity in my mind.
Yeah, and again, like I was saying, if our offensive prowess lives up to what it should be on paper, that might be all you need to get into the playoffs is mediocrity.
Oh yeah, and see that's the issue. If your goal is a World Series championship, you look at this rotation, and you're talking about, at least in my opinion, Flaherty, Monty, Woodford, and Matz. If you can get a game or two above 500, ERA below 4, you're calling it a win. That is not a championship caliber rotation. Even Wainwright, when he comes back, you're looking for maybe a little bit better than that. But he is going to turn 42. And Wainwright, he's going to be chomping at the bit to get back because it's his final season. You don't want to sit for his final season. But groin injuries can linger. So he's gonna have to be really patient. The Cardinals are going to have to make sure he's 100%. Otherwise, he's going to be back for one start and back on the IL.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Now, that was a lot of doom and gloom, but some of that may not matter when it comes to the pitching because this offense has the potential to be elite. I think, if you watched the video when we talked about lineup possibilities, the offense, the lineup, is that of a team that goes out and wins close to 100 games. They're going to light people up on a lot of nights, I think.
Well, and another thing that's worth mentioning is not only is the lineup capable of that, the defensive play is going to be right there too.
Yes.
With the new shift rules, the one thing the Cardinals have as an advantage is they have a lot of rangy players, especially in our infield. So they didn't have to shift as much anyway because they can cover so much ground. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out compared to some of the other teams.
Yeah, and I think, we talked about him a little bit at the beginning. Nolan Gorman, I think, will benefit from the new shift rule more than anybody. I think, not having a second baseman or shortstop in short right field, I think that might be good for 10 points on his batting average. So, we'll see if that helps him out. You could be looking at a situation if Gorman's progress translates into the regular season where maybe Nolan Gorman is your DH against a right-handed pitcher and Jordan Walker is your DH against a lefty. You could have a situation like that.
Oh, absolutely. And again, you're just going to be playing the odds and the numbers with our lineup because quite honestly, everybody up and down the lineup, if they live up to their potential, it's just going to be dangerous. Like they can make anything happen at any time.
Well, yeah, I think we both expect Contreras to bat fifth. If he plays like he's capable of, he belongs there. If Tyler O'Neill hits like he's capable of, and he can stay healthy, his offensive capability is that of a guy in the fifth spot. And that having that in the sixth spot potentially is dangerous. If Gorman or Walker, if they can be solid, that's a lot of pop for the seventh spot. It not only is there talent, there's depth to this lineup.
Well, and if Walker plays like everyone has the expectations that he's going to play, you potentially have another third hole batter on this roster with no third hole to put him in.
Yeah. Yeah, you have that guy with that kind of potential and talent batting seventh or something. It's just not fair. Now, we've talked about pitching, a little bit of defense, bats. We both agree, David, success for this team. What makes 2023 a successful season? advancing beyond the wild card round and into the division series. Beyond that, to a certain extent, you take your chances against teams like the Mets or the Dodgers, Padres, Phillies, whoever, Braves. So given that measure for what a successful season would be, who's your X factor for the Cardinals to achieve that? One guy whose success or failure this season will make or break the Cardinals.
I think, and I'm going to pick this knowing where everyone else is going to go, and I think you're going to go that direction, Eric. But my pick is going to be Tyler O'Neill. And the reason why I say this is our outfield right now is kind of up in the air. A lot of unknowns, if you will, and a lot of players that can be mixed and match. If he plays up to his potential, not only in the field, but with his bat, and he stays healthy, it will solidify the outfield rotation and give this team a backbone out there that could carry him. And not only that, you're talking about the power he has in his bat as a possible fifth hole hitter, and it just makes that lineup even more dangerous.
Yeah, that was one of the problems with the Cardinals offense is they got absolutely nothing in terms of run production from their outfielders last season. Injuries being a big part of it with O'Neill as well as Dylan Carlson. Both their health really will be huge for that. For me, I'm taking the easy way out. As you mentioned, X factor for me is Jack Flaherty. I think that's going to be a common pick. If you were to ask people the same question, it's because the pitching, I think, is so suspect, and because we've seen what he's capable of. If he can even approach what he did in the second half of 2019, things change dramatically for the Cardinals. And now, I don't expect him to replicate that, but can he get close? I don't know if I expect it, but if he does, look out. Now, season predictions. Again, I said that this lineup is that of a 100-win team. The pitching, the starting rotation is that of a team going about 500. Well, average that out, and I've got the Cardinals at 90-72. I've got them winning the NL Central by 5 games over the Brewers. And then I've got the Cardinals losing in the wild card round again. I think the pitching, I think they'll be overmatched because the Cardinals do not have an ace, but other teams in the playoffs will. So I think it'll be just like last season, honestly.
Now, for my prediction, I think a lot alike with you in the fact that I have the Cardinals going 88-74. But more importantly, the Brewers, I have at winning 85 games. So
yeah, our margin, we both somehow figured out the Brewers are going to go 85-77. So
just kind of made me chuckle. Again, we'll get into the wild card game, and I think our lineup is going to propel us all the way to the NLCS before we succumb to the top rotation in the league, who is either going to be LA or New York, quite honestly. But it is worth mentioning, this team has at least 6 potential homegrown players as their core that the club has control over. And with how strong our minor league system is, I could see them near the trade deadline using those minor league players to potentially get another starter that's a 2 or 3 starter that might push us for a playoff run.
Well, that could happen.
Just an interesting side thought on that one. But, guys, baseball's here. And it might seem like an afterthought with St. Louis City and the Battlehawks going on, but buckle up. Baseball season starting. I'm excited, and we'll bring you all the news for St. Louis Cardinals. But for now, thank you for watching Under the Arc Sports.